Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Good morning, everybody. It's Steve and Sarah. And we haven't been on for a while, but we're back. There's been a lot that's happened. Today, we're going to really focus on some things that are going on in Sarah's hometown, South Salt Lake. But, you know, there's so much to talk about. It's just hard to even know where to start. I wanted to touch on what's going on with the SAVE Act just a little bit. Have you been following at all what's going on recently with that?
I see Scott Pressler's Facebook post that it's like 178 days of trying to get Thune to
bring it to the floor.
Yeah,
and he hasn't. He just hasn't done that, and that's a shame because I think that's really at the heart of our democracy to have fair elections, and that's just not happening. We can see what happened recently in California with the mayoral race and the governor's race, where one candidate is leading on election day and even several days after, and then all these late ballots come in, and Pratt loses after being way ahead on election day, and miraculously these bags of ballots are found, but they're all for the opponent candidate. And that doesn't make any sense. It's obvious that there's cheating, and it's just got to stop. And the SAVE Act needs to happen. We need to have election day, not election 3 weeks like it is now. And
James O'Keefe actually found people being paid to vote. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
California.
The homeless people, and they'd go down and
like on Skid Row.
Yeah, and so it's just so rampant, and all across the country. California is probably the most that we've seen, but it happens here too in Utah, and it's infuriating to me, and it trickles down to everything in our everyday life, because these are the people that make the laws for us that we have to follow, and it's not right. I think we're going to do a whole show on that maybe in the next week or two, because I think it's really important. And one of the things I want to mention is Thune hasn't brought it to the floor because there's not enough support for it to pass. And I don't think Thune wants it to pass. I think he needs to be replaced. But even our own John Curtis is against it. I actually sent him an email saying that he needs to vote for it, and his response was that he was actually against it, and for reasons that it's going to limit the people that are able to vote, which is a whole sham and excuse that's not valid in and of itself. But we'll talk about that another time, and we'll talk about the elections that just happened, Aaron Davis losing and why, and some other races. But today, we want to talk about what's going on in Sarah's hometown, like I said, South Salt Lake. Sarah, what are you seeing? What's going on, and what are some of the issues that concern you?
All right, so we've got a huge piece of land, like 100 acres between State Street and about 3rd West.
Yes.
And then probably like 215 to like
I-80 to 21st South.
I-80 to 21st South. So we've got 100 acres there, and our property taxes keep going up. And so I'm wondering, like, how are we paying for all of this? They say it's with the tax increment financing, but we have to put some initial money in there. And I see these transfers in our budget and funds going there, but then the council comes to us and says, we need to raise your taxes for this. They just put $7 million on the business owners, not even the nonprofits.
Do you think Okay, the business owners citywide.
Citywide. And then
Do you
they're
think
asking for more property tax from us. This
Do you
is
think
like
it's
our third one.
specific to this RDA or this
Well,
TIF?
So all across Utah, we are doing these kinds of financings, these private public financing, and you have to wonder, like, is this the cause why every city's property taxes are going up?
Mhm.
And why do these developers want to do this so badly? And then why are the developers contributing to the campaigns of the council and the mayors?
So they can get favors. That's quite obvious. They want these kind of measures to go through. And I actually, as you and I have talked, I actually know about that RDA from State Street to 3rd West, from 21st South to I-8, because I set it up, actually. And it's called Market Station. That was the name of a project that I actually did there and I was doing there.
And it's still called Market Station.
It's still called Market Station. So what happened was I actually built a for-sale condominium building there. And then I started to acquire all the land between State and Main from 21st South down through the old D'Ambrosio car dealership. So it was over 15 acres initially. And as part of that, we set up an RDA to have what's called a TIF, tax increment financing. And I
Can you elaborate on that? How did you set up an RDA? What was the process like?
Okay, so an RDA technically has to be in what is to be considered a blighted area. And quite honestly, this was a blighted area. A lot of the businesses were vacated. The old Burton lumber site, which was several of the acres, was vacated. There were some office buildings and homes that were literally dilapidated. So it fit the description of a rejuvenation area and blighted. And so an RDA is redevelopment area, obviously, and you do that because it affords certain advantages to the developer. And one of the advantages is what's called a TIF, or tax increment financing. And I can give just a quick, brief description of what that actually is. A TIF is, so you buy property, say the old Burton lumber site, and there was actually 15 separate owners that I consolidated into one piece. And you take what the current property tax on those properties is, as is blighted. What is the city generating from that property currently?
Yeah, and that's also called like the baseline.
The baseline tax. So you propose a project, and our project was about $500 million. It was largely residential. It had for sale and for lease product in it, and then some retail, supporting retail and so forth. So you estimate what the tax is going to be once the new project is complete, which is going to be a great deal more because you're putting $500 million into the land, and it's going to increase the value exponentially. So you figure out what that new tax revenue will be. You minus the baseline from it, and so you have this incremental difference of taxes that's going to be increased. And then you negotiate with first the school board, because they get the lion's share of property taxes, the city, and the county.
For this one, so it's at 80-20. So 20% is what they keep getting for the general property tax, but then the 80% is of whatever comes in, it goes back into that zone. So even though they do that, they still have to negotiate.
Yes. Well, when you first set it up, you have to negotiate the increment. So the project gets an incremental part. That's what the increment means. An incremental part of the increase that you're going to see. So it's a win-win. The city's going to get a percentage of the increased taxes, and the developer is going to get a percentage of the increased taxes, and the school district, quite honestly, and the county. So one way to explain why it's beneficial is if that property remains as is, it's not going to produce that much tax revenue because the property isn't worth much.
Yeah.
But if somebody's willing to come in and put a lot of money into it, then it's going to benefit everybody. The county's going to get more money based on tax revenue. The city's going to get more money, and most of all, the school board.
But what is weird is I'm pretty sure it says there's a chunk that's going to go to the state.
And that might be the case. That might be a new negotiation on this particular piece, but you have to have an RDA, that's the first step in setting up tax increment financing. And then you negotiate with these entities to get that incremental increase. And when I set it up, that the amount that was going to come into the property over a 15-year period was just under $50 million. So it was significant. Usually in a TIF, you get it over that 15 years, but there are ways to bond for it, that the city can put up bonds for it and front the developer money.
Okay, and I think that's what we did, but with the HTRZ, the housing and transit, because we had like $16 million that we loaned, I guess, in a bond, in the form of a bond. So that came from the taxpayers, is that right?
Yeah.
And then with those HTRZs, they have to be approved by the legislature.
Yeah, see, and so that's a new component to what I actually set up, where the legislature gets involved. So they've added another component that I'm not sure exactly what it is.
So would you say the RDA is very similar to the HTRZ?
Yeah.
Like it should just be the same thing, but
Right.
whatever.
It's very complicated. I've looked at what they did and the charts that you showed me, and it's a little convoluted, and it's really hard to decipher just exactly what they're doing with all these monies that they're appropriating, and they need to be a little more forthcoming. But quite honestly, I would bet the council and even the mayor doesn't have a clue of what's actually happening. All they know is that they're getting this project done. It's the attorneys and all these other people that set it up, and then they approve it. But they often approve things that they don't have a clue about. All they know is they're going to get a project that may or may not happen. And unfortunately, what they're doing in this particular one is putting in a lot of low-income housing, which is not going to be good. If you put nothing but low-income housing in the area, that's like a government project that you might think of in a big city where it's all subsidized by the government, low-income people come in, there's no sense of ownership, it's hard to collect rents, the properties don't make a profit at all. In fact, they're running a deficit.
Yeah, like they're trying to get people, there's nobody, it's mostly vacant or half vacant now. They've got the 3-month free rent plus $1,000 gift card or other incentives, which is just crazy. That right there in that same, in that district should put some red flags up to the council and the mayor to, okay,
well, they don't think in terms of what that business people do.
So Steve, I just pulled this up about the 80 and 20. So the 80% goes back into the district. The 20% goes to the Granite School District, Salt Lake County, and South Salt Lake. But all three of them have to split that 20%.
Right.
And so when there's all this new growth coming in, there's a lot more people that need those kinds of services.
Mhm.
And how is there going to be enough funding to pay for the services that we pay for? They're not going to be paying their fair share.
No, that this is not going to be paying their fair share. And unfortunately, the whole community outside the RDA is going to foot the bill.
Yeah,
And
this is just so scary because we're only 1 year in. There's only like not even that many people there yet, but they want to bring in all these people. So like we're 1 year into a 15-year TIF, and I can already feel it. Like I know that that's what's happening.
Yeah. So the reason that they have to do the property tax increase now is because they're upfronting the money. In a normal TIF, you don't upfront the money. So the actual new revenue that you'll start getting in when the project is done, that would be the revenue, not going out and taxing the whole South Salt Lake community. But because they're fronting money and bonding for it, they have to come up with the money somehow. So it's not by taxing the already blighted area that has no revenue. It's going out to the community and taxing you, and you live a mile away from the actual project, if not more, and everybody else in South Salt Lake. So if they didn't upfront the money, then the developer would have to wait until his project actually started gaining revenue. That's where the tax revenue would be kicked back to him as an incremental part of the overall 20%. So that's how it works, but because they've decided to clearly upfront the money, and I've seen some of the payouts that you showed me that are going out, and some of it is for consulting fees, and that's probably going back to the city coffers anyway. I don't know that for sure, but consulting fees that are exorbitant in the thousands, many thousands of dollars. That's why they have to increase your property tax, because they don't have any other way to pay for the money they're going to upfront this project. And the problem is the plan is horrible. I've seen basically the plan. It involves mostly low-income housing. They already have low-income housing there. In fact, on another project that I'm part owner in, one of our leasing agents worked at one of these facilities in South Salt Lake. They couldn't collect rent. They couldn't kick people out. It's hard to kick the people out. The people know that they don't need to pay rent, and it's way below market value, and they just take advantage of the system. They don't care about the properties. They become trashy, trash all over the grounds, trash the apartments themselves are trash. You've got to have a sense of ownership at some point in these big projects. Otherwise, it'll just turn into a government project. And I don't know if you've ever been to a big city where they have these high-rise government subsidized, they call them the projects. And it's the worst of the worst. It's poor, it's neglected, run down, they do not make a profit. The tax base actually lowers over time because of the conditions of the properties. It's kind of a no-win situation. And right now is a horrible time to build any market rate or even subsidized housing, because construction costs are so high that they just simply do not pencil if you wanted to make a profit. So the only way they could possibly do this is to get money up front.
So how is your plan different than the one that they're doing right now?
Well, first of all, it's all based around market rate housing, and most of it was for sale. In fact, the project that I did do down there already, it was the first project ever done there. It was done before the RDA was set up, and they're for sale condominiums. The difference being is when you own something, you take pride in ownership. You want to keep it up, So if the resale value increases, and I don't care who you are, if you pay for something yourself, you own it, you're going to take better care of it. So we had townhomes that were for sale. We had high rises that had for market rate, for lease component, and for sale component to it. And it had, I don't know if you guys know about the area, but they put a Winco in. And that's like the bottom of the barrel of what you could have done with that property. And it demoralizes and it reduced the value of the condominiums across the street. So you got, oh
I
yeah.
like Winco. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's convenient.
It's convenient, but you don't take a.
So a grocery store lowers the value?
Would you want to live right next to a Smith's or a Winco or a Costco?
Kinda.
Right, like in the parking lot?
I don't know.
That's what you look, the condos I built are literally.
Actually, no, I can't say that because I live just across the street and they wanted to make this a Walmart initially. And I was like, ew.
Increased traffic that you don't want. It's noisy all the time. If you want to do
I guess a lot of people walking through, you don't really want that, like especially if you have kids.
You want the people that live in that community to feel safe going out, and to feel. Do you want to go out and take a walk in a 2-acre Winco asphalt parking lot? No, you don't. You just simply don't. And so it devalues any other kind of housing you want to put in there, especially if it's for sale. People are not going to buy a $500,000 condominium if it's butted up against a Winco parking lot. That's just
I could imagine renters do though, because some
renters are
share
different.
A car, they don't have a car and they take the bus or whatever.
Right, but that's a totally different project. You've got to have the right mix of for sale housing, because that component is what's going to keep that project nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
If you rent a house or you own it, you're gonna fix it up, you're gonna take care of it, you're gonna mow the lawn, most people.
This is funny, but I was against having a Walmart here, but I want a Winco over there.
That's
so
right,
that
because it's
sense.
not
in my neighborhood.
That's right. And that is, it's funny because I live in Cottonwood Heights, and last night there was a meeting about the short-term rentals, because people want to lease homes out or part of their homes for the ski resorts. And the city's against it. And then the mayor got up and she said, I went to Texas recently and we had some kind of a family thing, and we rented a house down there because we wanted all the people in the family to be able to play games at night and do all these, and it was short term, like a week. And she then said, but we don't want it here. It's like she's willing to go down to some other community, rent it out as a short-term rental, but not in our neighborhood, even though it's right next to world-class ski resorts where people from all over the world want to come in and have the same experience she had, which was be with her family, not have to rent out 6 different hotel rooms, but rather all be in one house. And they're outlining it in Cottonwood Heights because they don't want it in their neighborhood. So everybody feels like that. We need these things, but not in our neighborhood, somewhere else. Winco should have been over on 3rd West, where all the big box stores are, where you have Costco, Home Depot, Best Buy, Sam's Club, on, not at the heart of what should be a walkable, family accessible project. They totally ruined the concept of what that was.
Yeah. Well, I guess they just had a different concept in mind. They wanted the renters. Like that's what the mayor and the council want, right?
And what I'm arguing is that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not developers.
Well, here's the thing though. They probably do because there just tends to be more liberal people in rentals and apartments. And they feel very strongly about their political views. So they want to attract that. So it makes sense. Like I think they do know what they're doing. They're turning this more blue. Right?
Potentially, for sure, it's going to attract that element, absolutely, but it's going to, in the long term, fail. And every other, and Salt Lake is blue, right? As generally blue, it votes blue. The council is Democrat, and the mayor's a Democrat, and so they're going to take this part of the RDA, and they're going to create this deficit in cash revenue from this project they're doing, and you, as someone that doesn't benefit from it at all, is going to have to continually subsidize it because it's going to fail.
Yeah,
it's
and they're not
going
to really admit that. They're going to just say they need more money for the fire. The police need more money. The South Salt Lake Police Department, and so like the normal taxpayer here is going to be like, okay, I guess we need safety, but what they don't know is they're going to be paying for the services of that 100-acre.
Yeah, and cities, they do that. They are not honest with how they're allocating the money, and it takes somebody like you that actually looks at the numbers to see where the actual allocation is going. And even what you showed me, I couldn't exactly tell where they were spending the money to date. But I know that property there, that what they're doing there, they've already built a couple of low-income housing projects. And if you call, which I have done, and I've actually visited them, the Bowers is one of them, they'll tell you that they're full when the reality is they're not. They might be 70% full, which is horrible.
Well, I looked at one apartment. I first called them and I said, like, yeah, I'm interested in moving in. Like, how occupied are you? I don't want to be somewhere where it's crowded. And she was like, oh, no, nothing. I just kept pressing and asking questions. She got a little skeptical. But what I did was I went online to apartments for rent, and you can see how many floor plans they have, and then the number of those floor plans. So there are, this one complex is 45% vacant. And this was like one of their most recent ones.
Is it still leasing up, or has it had time how long has it been?
It's more than a year old.
In a year, you should be full, for sure, a year's time. The market in general in this valley is not good. It's not good right now to come online with all these projects. If you're going to subsidize them as in low-income housing, then it's just going to cost the taxpayer money, and that's why they've raised property taxes, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, have you heard of I think it's like they had to take a bond out to do some kind of project like sewer or something, and this is somewhere south, and they didn't tell the future homeowners that there was going to be a bond, and so their property taxes were not like $3,000 that they were expecting, but like $10,000 for the year.
Wow, is that in South Salt Lake or somewhere else in the valley?
This is somewhere else, but they're doing a same kind of bond within the district to get like the sewage and stuff worked out.
Right. Now, when a developer comes into an area like that, it's his responsibility or their responsibility, there are women developers, to do those upgrades at his expense. So in part, that's what a TIF can go to pay for, are those sewer, water,
well, I think this is what
upgrades.
is on top of that, or at least it was in wherever south. I'm going to pull up the article.
I'm sure that wasn't the TIF though. Maybe it was, but
no, it was separate. But yeah.
They just raised property taxes to pay for that. Yeah. Well, they do that. They don't want to alert the community that they're going to spend all this money and that their property taxes. I mean, that's like you have to disclose certain things when you buy a house. And these buyers that came in and didn't know this added expense, And that's a year, right? I mean, that's not
Mhm.
a one-time fee. That's like, we've got to plan on this money being spent every year.
Okay, I found it. So it's a KSL article.
Mm-hmm.
Hidden developers tax is zapping Utah home buyers for billions.
Wow, what city is that in? Does it say?
So I'll read the first two paragraphs. When Don Brown and his wife bought a studio apartment at the exclusive Black Desert Resort community outside St. George,
Okay.
they were excited for a smaller place to live that was big on amenities, fine restaurants, a golf course, even a water park to take the grandkids where they visited. But it wasn't until the night before he signed the closing documents that he saw an added property tax he wasn't expecting. For roughly a 1,500 square foot unit, he expected to pay property taxes around $2,000 a year. Instead, his bill was over $10,000.
Wow. That's huge. A year? I mean, they don't raise them and then lower them, ever. Once they're raised, they're raised.
And then it goes on to say it's a special kind of finance tool that was created by the legislature in 2019 to make it easier for developers to pay for infrastructure like roads, sewer, electrical systems, and for new communities.
See, there it says that the developer ultimately is responsible, and they're trying to help the developer by raising property taxes to pay for it. That's not right. That's totally different than a TIF.
Yeah, this is like the public infrastructure district. So there's many different types of districts.
Sure,
right?
yeah. But if the new development didn't come in, they wouldn't need to do these upgrades. So it's because of the new development, because they want it there, because they want to help the developer out, that they're raising property taxes on unsuspecting people to pay for it, when the developer should figure that in his initial costs. A TIF is supposed to work like we had set it up here in South Salt Lake, that we would get it over time. We weren't asking to bond for it. We weren't asking for any upfront money. We wanted to know that in the future, after we had increased the value of the property for everyone and made the area better for everyone, that the revenue that it was actually generating, some of it could go back to the developer to help offset some of his initial costs.
Mhm.
And then maybe it would be profitable. But to do it up front and ask taxpayers outside the RDA to pay for it, I think is wrong.
Mhm.
And there's another component to these RDAs, and that's eminent domain. And that's where if somebody doesn't want to sell their house, they take it, whether we want to or not, which I think is wrong too. In fact, I, in this case, asked that not be included in that. And there was a couple of key properties that we had not purchased yet when this was being done, and we ended up paying like 3 times the value, and we knew that, but we didn't want to take, in this case, somebody's business that they'd owned for years. So I think it's wrong when you take people's property unless it's vital to the public interest, like we need to expand our roadways, freeways, et cetera. That's different than doing an eminent domain because a developer wants that piece for his project. So I don't think that's part of this RDA unless they change that from when I initially set it up.
Like the paying for sidewalks and stuff?
Well, no, I mean,
'Cause we are, like, they have this massive parking garage structure. Who knows if we're gonna have to pay to even use it, but we've got that, and then like, so you're saying the sidewalks and stuff. It seems
Sidewalks,
like we're
yeah.
the ones paying for that, like the sidewalks. And
Was there an
like
actual line item that said that, like, for those kind of upgrades? Or?
Well, because the housing and transit, it's like to get the tracks in there.
That's a whole nother story that we need to talk about.
That's what I was thinking that a lot of the HTRZ was going towards.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the tracks line there, because I pulled up an article yesterday because it's been a few years since, and I wanted to remember the details, where I did an interview with the Deseret News, and there were 2 articles on it about the rail line and the development. UTA came on and said, we're not going to do anything into the sugar house until at least 2030. Jim Davis and I, who is an ex-mayor of South Salt Lake, we put together a packet and submitted a proposal to United States Department of Transportation. Because of the project that we had proposed and were approved for, they, in large part, funded the South Salt Lake or Sugar House Tracks line. And it went in, I mean, it's not even 2030 yet, and it's been there, what, 6-7 years already? 8? It went in because of Market Station, the plan we proposed, because of all the residential we had that was going to carry people back and forth from the project into Sugar House, and from Sugar House through Market Station to Central Point and back down Salt Lake or Draper, wherever. So, and Sherrywood proudly stood there and accepted a check for just under $100 million to get that rail line put in before its time, because of what we did with the RDA, because we had built Central Point, and because we had everything in place to do Market Station. And so it's because of but now they've changed that. So I would have to look at the legalities of, they look at the density of housing, market rate, low income, all that, and do a calculation to figure out how much money, or if they're even going to support the rail line. But because of what we had planned at Market Station, they were willing to do it. But now that the plan has changed, I wonder if there's any kind of recourse or anything, because they're doing something totally different.
Yeah.
They don't want to see.
Even when this plan was made like 3 years ago, their projections are not following what they thought. So how do they reevaluate?
I hope the hell they do, because,
But they probably don't, right?
in life, every day I have to reevaluate what I do. And if you're a developer, things change. The price of commodities change, the price of labor changes, everything changes. The price of financing changes over time. So your plan has to change to meet those changes in the market. So I would hope so. I don't know who's head of this, who's steering the ship here.
It's I think Jonathan Weeder.
Is he a city person, or?
He's the like planning and development.
See, so I mean, I don't mean to undermine all city people, but you don't run a multi-million-dollar project from the city's perspective. That's an oxymoron. It doesn't work. If you're worth a damn and you can make money in the private sector doing this, that's where you'll be.
Okay, I have a question. So the 16 million that we put in for the HTRZ, that's a bond. Let's just say it's 15 years. What about the interest? Where is the interest coming from? And was that already calculated, or is that still coming out by year?
Oh no, it's just like any other loan that you might take.
We're paying it by year too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time.
Okay. So I just said, what is the interest on the HTRZ bond? It says under the official bond resolution passed by the South Salt Lake Redevelopment Agency, the legal parameters set a strict maximum interest cap at 10% per annum.
10%'s a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Would you go get a house loan at 10% right now? I don't think so.
Holy cow. And then down here, the key financial details of the bond. Downtown HTRZ tax increment revenue bonds include 10% maximum allowed interest. Okay, bond issuance cap up to 30 million in aggregate principal with an initial core project funding allocation sitting around 15.28 to 19.5 million. What does that mean?
Well, the initial bond amount can't exceed 30 million, is what that means.
But we did 15, so they're going to keep going?
They
up to
could,
30?
they could, and it sounds, the documents you gave me, it looked like,
There were two, huh? It wasn't just the 15.28. There
right,
was something else.
they were doing some street beautification on 3rd West, it sounded like, and some other things like that, that some of this money was going to.
Okay, so I think it was the 15.28 for the HTRZ, and then the other, seemed like it was about 16 million or something for the RDA.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
yeah, vaguely. Some of the, when I looked through the documents, the expenditure, line item expenditures weren't clear.
Yeah.
It was not clear, like a lot of the, is it for sewer upgrades or light, electric, or water? They were left blank, and then they had a lump sum under it as an aggregate amount. So you didn't know, you couldn't tell what the money was actually being spent for, which is a little bit underhand.
Yeah,
well,
so
a lot bit underhanded.
So the one that we were just talking about, the 15.28, on the RDA, like on the balance, or on the, what's it called, the sheet,
Yeah,
budget, it says appropriation from fund balance, 15,280,000.
but to what?
Exactly, like it
It doesn't tell you what. A lot of those lines there that you're looking at, that are line itemed, are just left blank.
Yeah, okay, and then here's the other one, RDA HTRZ fund, 17,531,000.
Yeah, and that's probably goes back to the city as some kind of a consulting fee or something like that. Who knows? If they're not, that wouldn't fly. Let's put it this way. In the business world, if you had to make accountability to partners that you had, that's not going to fly with them.
Yeah.
They
Well,
want to know exactly what every penny is being spent for.
Yeah.
Precisely, not a list of blank items and then an aggregate total amount saying 15 million. They're going to ask, where's this money going?
Here's the annoying thing, is that we elect these people to do that job, and I thought that's what we were paying
Well, they're
them for.
idiots. Sorry, they're idiots. They are, they're idiots. Anyway.
But yeah, and then it's just taking like normal people that already have jobs and things that they're doing. I'm not getting paid for this. You're not getting paid for it. But yet we are the ones going through the budget and saying like, wait, what is this? And then you ask the city council person, what is it? They don't know.
Right. You know what it reminds me of, and it just came to mind?
And hold on, someone said they don't have time, because I called one of the council people, and they said they don't have time to go through line by line. I was like, what?
Well, do you remember when Obamacare was getting passed? And they said, we got to pass it, we got to pass it. The Democrats controlled everything at that time. Obama was president, they controlled the House, they controlled the Senate. And they come up with this like 4,000-page document of Obamacare. And they passed it. And somebody asked Pelosi, what's in it? You know what she said? We have to pass it before we know what's in it. What? That's what this reminds me of. They don't have a clue what they're voting on, and yet they pass it.
Yeah.
And I don't
There
think
needs to be a law that says like the bill could only focus on one objective.
There are absolute guidelines within an RDA and a TIF that the money has to be spent only on certain things. And you mentioned a parking garage. They're putting a parking garage in when there's going to be, okay, so that'll be subsidized parking for what? The Winco? the part of the TIF requirement is that you have to have a public benefit element to the TIF. In other words, the public's got to be able to come down and park in that parking structure for free or a very minimal cost. And it's not exclusively for the residents down there, or a TIF can't be done because there has to be.
I know in the plans, like the 147-page proposal or whatever, they do go over that.
Yeah.
I think they're meeting those guidelines, but it's just,
That doesn't make it right,
yeah.
either, does it?
Yeah.
Because, no, I agree. But what is a big parking structure going to be used for down there?
for renters.
Well, I know, but that doesn't help you, does it?
No.
It's supposed to help the public at large in the whole city, not just specifically for that site. If you're paying for it, which you are, then there has to be some benefit to you. Now, they can make the claim that it's helping you if you ever wanted to go down there, but you would never go down there.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to go to Winco. But I don't even know how close it is to the Winco.
Yeah, and Winco already has a parking area.
Which is horrible. You don't put a 2-acre parking lot in the middle of a walkable residential development. It's just stupid. Let's set this thing up to fail. And at the time, they just wanted to get anything they could in there.
Okay, well, look at how cool that is. It's a place to play.
I'll show you cool. I actually brought it on my computer, the design that I had for that spot. It was cool. By the way, we had elite model management in there. We had Jeff Johnson casting in there. And we were working with the Utah Film Commission to bring a film studio to that site. And we were very close to inking the deal. And you're probably all wondering, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it, why didn't I do the development? And it's because you all remember the 2009 crash in the real estate market. It was horrendous. I personally had 2 $500 million projects going on in 2 separate towns, here and in Memphis, Tennessee. And all of a sudden you could not get the bank shut down. They had to be bailed out. If you remember, they were no longer giving loans. So I ended up holding $30 million, 15 here, 15 in Memphis, Tennessee, of property that I was personally having to make payments on. That's a tough nut to carry for a length of time. So ultimately, I went to the city and asked them to bond for it, and they voted on it, and I missed it by 1 vote. So we would partner, and they would hold on to the property until times got better, and they said no. And then as soon as I quit making the payments, which were almost $50,000 a month, at some point I had to stop, and they ended up buying it at auction, and they wouldn't bond for it. So it tells you a little bit something about the character of the people in the city at the time. It's not the same council, but
Okay, so explain, like, I don't know why it's just so hard to follow this South Salt Lake thing. Because this was, so on June 2nd, this is an article from the South Salt Lake that approves tax increment funds for 2 multifamily projects along West Temple. And this one is 19.5. So Wienerhammer says the city issued HTRZ bonds last December, which put 19.5 million into city coffers. I haven't seen that number yet. So how come there's just always like these numbers, the 15.28, the 17.3, and then 19.5 million? These are all different numbers.
yeah,
He said state statute allows for the RDA to repurpose up to 80% of the property tax increment over a 15-year period as the HTRZ bonds are secured by future property tax increment growth. Is this one different than the 15.28?
yeah, that is.
We only have 26,000 people in South Salt Lake. And so this number is huge.
Yeah.
So when, like, do I have to meet with this guy and ask, like, how much we have put in? Because it doesn't seem like, I keep trying to go through all of like the archives and stuff to see how much we have actually put into this project.
Is he the like city manager?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If they don't line item it out, that's very vague as to what that's being spent for. Yeah, I would say set a meeting with them and see if
Okay, and then here, so this is for the 2 projects, okay, the 2 apartment complexes. The
Mhm.
agreements outline just how much money each project could receive from the RDA and would ultimately have to pay back. Utopia could be given up to about $1 million, just over $1 million, and a key could be given up to $500,000. For what? For the sidewalks?
that, you'd have to see the details.
This one was just on June 2nd, so this isn't even part of the plan that we were talking about.
Okay, that's coming out of the same TIF for 2 different projects, right? So they don't necessarily have to have a public component.
Okay, maybe what I'm thinking is that there's just so many different TIFs in the district. Is that possible?
I don't think so.
Okay, go tell me what you were saying.
They're bonding for that money. It says it in the above paragraph. They're giving.
So when did this bond come out then? This is not the same bond.
Well, that might be part. The 19.5 million, the lesser amounts going to the 2 projects might be part of the 19.5, but they don't explain that. So it's left for us to surmise what they're doing.
This just happened on June 2nd though.
Mhm.
The other stuff was from a year or 2 ago.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen any improvements down there? And do you know if any TIF money went to the projects that are complete there? Like the Bowers, and there's one other down there. What's it called? You told me.
Well, I guess there has to be some, but I can't imagine there being that much money being generated because we're
they're
only a year in.
Those are operating at a loss right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Especially if they're only 45% full.
Yeah.
That's a loss. Those buildings are very expensive to make, and you have to, even the market rate projects that are 80, 90, 95% occupied, they are not generating profits right now because the rents have been lowered 30% over the last 2 years in the downtown, Sugar House, South Salt Lake areas. The rents have gone down. Projects were struggling to make money before that, and now the market is such that there is no way they can make money at that, especially in a low income environment. So either developers kicking in extra money that he didn't plan on, that he'd have to generate the money that would kick back.
That's what I feel like. Like that's what I don't know. I just think that's how it works. Like, oh, we just need we need more money. So the city mayor, go tell them we need it for this. Like we need it for this, and then so that they can keep.
The thing to do, I think, Sarah, would be to just track if the best you can where that money is going to go.
I think I'm gonna have to go meet with this guy.
Yeah, I'd love to go to that meeting with you.
I'm gonna have to take a big notebook and pen and just take notes.
Yeah, I'd like to hear. I'd like to see. I have kind of the interest in it a little bit, even though I try to drive around South Salt Lake right now. I'm sitting in it though, right?
So there's no other way. Can I I just wish there was a main hub for all of this, and I didn't have to go through the past.
Do you think they want to make it easy for you?
Gosh, Tina Cannon does. Tina Cannon. Shout outs to Tina Cannon. She's awesome.
Yeah, she is. I think that an audit would be in order for this. Unless they're forthcoming about where this money is going, I would absolutely request some kind of an audit. And it seems like that should be part of the TIF too.
Could the Salt Lake County auditor audit or no? Does it have to be?
I don't think they would. Although the Salt Lake County is likely getting a percentage of this TIF that isn't paying back right now. We know that. There's not been enough money generated to have an incremental increase in the taxes, and the properties are not generating money. So how is the TIF going to get paid back? It's not. They actually have
Oh,
to.
that's crazy. So I wasn't thinking about the Salt Lake County. So Salt Lake County is losing money because of these districts.
And likely
Right?
the school board.
Okay, so this could be a reason why our Salt Lake County taxes are going up.
It could be part of it. Because this, who knows, this could be going
This is
on.
$1 billion project.
Oh, I know.
This is huge. And there's the point, right? That's still Salt Lake County.
Yeah, I think
So-
that's more of the state, though. I think that's more of a state project. Where
Yeah,
the old
but
prison
this-
was.
But the Salt Lake County still, like, how do they get the resources? Like, they're still gonna use county resources there.
I'm not sure. What they're gonna do is they're gonna
The
auction.
libraries,
Yeah, but they're gonna auction, or they're supposed to do what's called a RFP. When a city, a county, or a state owns property and they want to put something on it, you're not supposed to be able to just go to your friend, Stuart Adams, and say, will you develop this for me? That's my opinion, not Sarah's, okay? You can't just go to a friend and say, we're gonna let you have this. An RFP is a request for proposal. You're supposed to put it out to bid, essentially. So on a project like The Point, they're gonna say, okay, we want a development here. We want people to come with proposals, and then we as a state are gonna meet and we're gonna pick one based on dollar amount, based on what you're gonna put there, and a number of other factors. So somebody like Big D Construction, IBI architects, engineering firms, developers will partner to put together a full proposal of what we're going to do there, how much it's going to cost, and then the state will award it. That's how it's supposed to work on any city, county, state-owned property. You can't pick because they're your friends, and yet that happens all the time. And that's how money changes hands in these deals, and it's not kosher. It's not right. So on The Point, I think that's probably what will happen. It's so big and so high profile that that's likely what will happen there. But it probably didn't happen here. They just say, oh, I happen to know Stuart Adams, so let's give it to him. He's a developer. And by the way, he's Senate president, and we might get something in return. Who knows? I'm not angry about that, by the way, at all.
This is just a mess.
Yeah. What other questions you have about it?
I don't have any questions, but I am determined to get a meeting with Jonathan Wiederhammer.
Wiederhammer?
I think so. Weiderhammer.
All right. Well, it's been like an hour, and I understand, Dwayne, that if you're still there, or I don't know what you're doing, but you're going to take this off of live call-in at some point. Have you done that yet? And you're just going to post it on YouTube or on your channel, KMMU. We're supposed to say that a couple times, by the way, during the show. KMMU.org is what we're broadcasting from. And I hope you're watching, and you can also see it on YouTube. You can also see it on Rumble. Dwayne, if you're there, pipe in and tell us what the hell.
I am here. I've been listening intently.
Oh yeah, right. So what? Yeah, let's do a station break. How long ago was that?
Well, I texted you, so you can you see the chat on the screen?
Yeah, but we kind of weren't looking at it.
Oh, sorry,
Well, you're
Wayne.
supposed to pay attention. I may have some urgent message for you.
Oh my
So
gosh.
why don't we do a station break?
Sure, it's right
Can
there.
you? All right. So do what you need to do.
Well, you're supposed to do this, Steve. It's your show.
Oh, well, I just did it. I just did it, right? I mean, I
Yes,
said
you did.
KMMU,
Here
and
you
then I
go.
asked you
Here you go.
KMMU.org.
You are
And you're going
listening
to
to
go.
Sarah and
You
Steve.
told me. Wait a second. You told me that you were going to go fully to that, and that you were going to no longer do live call-ins. And why don't you explain that to
We're
us?
still live, just so you know.
I know.
We're live, and we're still
I
doing
know
live
that.
call-ins. We're still doing live call-ins, and that is going to change, okay? Because
I
we're
know,
going
but
to be only.
that's what I wanted you to explain to our audience.
Yeah, we're trying to drive traffic to our website and get subscribers. So that's where we're going to be broadcasting very soon. You'll still be live, just on our website. That's all. Okay, we're driving traffic there, and
So
okay. I'm
it'll
going to
be
do my
live.
station.
All right, so visit kmmu.org and you can check out the many different shows that KMMU has.
Yeah,
I'm going to do my station break.
KMMU.org. We're on YouTube. We're on X. And if they go to YouTube/KMMU, or
Media,
what do they go?
Media Utah. Media Utah.
Main
Same
is
thing
it
with
Main
X.
Street? Yeah.
Nope, just YouTube Media Utah. X Media Utah.
YouTube Media Utah. Okay. So Sarah and I are gonna have the best damn show ever that ever was podcast. Okay, that's our goal, and we just want to talk about real issues in a real way and try to get to the bottom of a few things here and there. And I think we've been on an hour, and I want to say for anybody that's listening, there's an effort to hold the Salt Lake County GOP leadership executive committee to account for some of the things that they've been doing lately, and we intend to do that fully. And you're put on notice, because little tyrants cannot be accepted, and we have the ability to actually affect what's going on, and we are going to do that, and we will do it till a dying breath. At least I will. And for anybody that wants to call in the future, or even really quick right now, our number here,
Our phone lines are open.
they are open and ready. 435-900-8595. So there you go. If you want to talk to Sarah or Steve, you can do it right now or next time. And when should we do a show next time?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's going to be on a Wednesday though, right?
Yeah, we've been a little sporadic. We know that we've had a lot going on. I went out of town. Sarah's had a lot going on, and it's going to settle down for us a bit, we think. And we do want to just get better at this and put out a good show for you guys that's informative and interactive. And we want to overtake Joe Rogan and all those people. We've got a long way to go.
No, I think this is something that a lot of people are interested in, because there's a lot of small businesses in South Salt Lake, and even our fellow Republicans, they are business owners here.
Sure.
So they're tuning in, they want to know. So yeah, I think we'll keep up on this. And on our next show, we'll have more information about how much money exactly is South Salt Lake putting into this project on the backs of taxpayers.
Yeah, maybe we could go, if you let me go to that meeting with you, we can record it.
Secretly?
Well, I don't know, but it would be nice to know. It's nice to know where they're spending this money on a project that's doomed to fail. because they're just not putting the right components in.
We didn't even talk about the Granary District that failed on their $97 million loan.
You know, and if you go down there right now, the Granary and even north of the Granary, they're still building like crazy, which doesn't make any sense. I know that because I work on the numbers all the time. And 80% of it is low income housing. So they're building so much low income housing and it's just going to degenerate.
This is like, it's just the perfect storm for the uniparty is low income housing, because you've got the developers who tend to be Republican, and then you've got all these Democrats that are wanting affordable housing. You get them together and that's what we have now.
Yeah. But it ends up really hurting the economy.
Hey, Steve, so one thing for our next show, I'll do the research on the South Salt Lake.
Mhm.
Would you take charge and do more research on the Granary District? Because last I saw was that they had this this developer, he defaulted on his loan,
Mhm.
right? But then it's silent. There's the city, the mayor, they're not talking about how this affects the taxpayers, like what's going to happen. They're looking for other investors or something. It's being sold off or whatever, but they're not really saying like, what are the risks? And I think that's something that the residents should know. What are the risks? Would you look into that and see?
She's putting me on the spot. I mean, how do I say no to that now? On air? Yeah, I'll look into that.
Okay.
It's worth talking about. It costs us all money, whether it's direct money or loss in property value, or, there's a number of factors in ways that we can lose money on these things. I don't know if that's in an RDA. I don't know if there were subsidies from the city in any way. If it's low income housing, then I would say absolutely yes. People don't do low income housing unless it's getting subsidized somehow by a government entity.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no benefit to it.
Yeah.
So
you might have to go through a lot of paperwork. That will keep you busy.
I've got plenty.
We're trying to save Utah here.
We're trying to
Sarah
save
and Steve.
Yeah, single-handedly. No, there's some other people that are trying to help too, like Dwayne for one. But one of the things we're doing though too is we can't forget about it, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but we're trying to activate a lot of people in Salt Lake County to hold some of the politicians accountable for some of the things that they've done, and it requires a ton of time, footwork, effort, and commitment. And I've actually been reading a lot about our revolution, how it started, and it really wasn't about the taxes. It wasn't about the tea tax. It wasn't about what they called the intolerable taxes. It wasn't about these parameters that they were putting on the colonial people. It was that they wanted to self-govern. That was at the heart of it. These taxes and so forth just was kind of the needle that broke the camel's back. But we need to hold government officials accountable, whether it's in the way they're spending our money, the way they handle government policy and individuals within the party, and other types of policy. And we're open to investigating any and all of this, and we are a lot of it. So always looking for good people to help too. So
yeah, I think like to get things done, we've got to start having these coalitions instead of just playing party politics. Like these, I'm actually feel like I'm starting to move away from that. Like finances affect everybody.
oh yeah.
And this right here, like we're trying to like fight socialism as a country or whatever, our Republicans, but look what they're doing to us. And this is a Republican majority state.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like really hurting every single one of us. So I don't know. I think we just need coalitions, like a group of people who will educate the public, do research to know exactly what's going on, and to all band together and be a voice.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And one thing that really struck me is people were quite literally ready to give their lives for freedom and liberty. And in the last 10, 20 years, I literally have seen it incrementally being taken away from us, more than it was back during the revolution even. I mean, they imposed a few taxes on people. Here they are imposing communism. We see the transgender issues where they're mutilating our kids, overtaxation, raising property taxes to
But even with that, like they're doing that to the kids. That doesn't, if you don't allow that to come into your household, it won't, right?
I agree, but that doesn't mean in society we shouldn't stand up against it. Like we should stand up against drag queens performing in the public square.
I think just don't have your kids there.
Well, I agree with that, but I'm saying we shouldn't have it at all, because it's like pedophilia. Even if it's not happening against your kid, you want to do everything you can to stop it from happening to other kids. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the issues. We can't ignore them because it's not directly affecting us. Because guess what? Eventually it will. We can't live in this bubble and expect our kids not to get exposed to all these things that are everywhere. We can't protect them in a bubble. We can't keep them in the house. We've got to send them to school. They've got to go out with their friends on occasion.
Yeah, but you could choose your. I don't like public education at all. I'm just let's just go private school. I'll be in my little bubble. That's what I'm doing these days.
And that's a good place to be, and we need more of those little bubbles. But I also think we need to get involved in every aspect of our society. And I'm not saying regulate it, but I'm saying call out the things that are just plain evil, like the huge pedophilia, sex trafficking, all that stuff. I mean, it's huge, and if we live in our bubbles, we're not aware of it. We're not going to do anything about it. And for it to prevail is for us to do nothing. But if we all stand up and do something, we can
what I don't like though is how there's these like few issues that the parties like stand for, and then it just keeps us like from working together. But that's why I was bringing up the coalitions. Like we need coalitions where we can go across party lines and work on something together. And like, yeah, I think that the stuff is wrong that you're bringing up, but it's just like, it's just sticky. It's just hard. It's
very hard. It's hard enough to just pick one thing, one
that's
subject.
For sure. We're all over the place.
Yeah.
We've gone into the financing to city and state and county, I guess now, and then we've done election integrity.
We're not done with that, by the way.
Yeah, we need to circle back to that.
Yeah, and we will. And by the way, I want to do a whole show on what happened with Aaron Davidson, why that happened, what it means for election integrity in the state overall, and what we can continue to do about it. I mean, he was a good source because he worked with the legislature, but they wanted him out. They spent so much money on a county clerk's race, and it brought in the big hitters at the state to endorse him and to fundraise for him. That alone should raise enough red flags.
There was actually a bipartisan, I guess, coalition, if you can call it, of people to get out Stuart Adams. Like, that is so cool.
And you know why?
Yeah, because the Democrats and the Republicans hated him.
Because of
his corruption.
That and what happened recently.
So he got his granddaughter out, changed the law or whatever.
That's right.
To get his granddaughter less punishment.
Yeah,
And then
she was
he's
like accused
head
of
of MIDA.
pedophilia.
Yeah, he's head of MIDA, right?
Yeah.
So,
And what they made the decision on the data center up in Box Elder County, and he lives up in Davis County, and so I think personally that's what put it over the edge for him was the decision they made to let this huge data center come into Box Elder County. Yeah. And good riddance to the guy. I mean, he's a bad dude. Yeah, I've had personal dealings with him not only in the public forum but also in the private. And so I know who this guy is, and it's my opinion, it's not Sarah's, but he is not a good person. We've got people in politics that are either in it for the betterment of the people, to make our societies better, to represent the people, and then we got those people that are in it for their own self-benefit and their friends and their family's benefit. And he was one of those. And I can't stand for that. And we're seeing it in others in Salt Lake County party, and we're trying to take action to the extent that we can against them. So we have so many topics. I mean, it will never be at a loss of things to talk about, and that's good. And our hope is to inspire other people to get involved. I think ultimately we're not doing this just because we think it's fun. It kind of is.
Yeah, we like to learn.
We like to learn, and this forces you to learn and forces you to stay involved. And I think both of us want that. So Dwayne,
Come on! You're doing this because it's fun.
Yeah, well, it is fun in a very strange sort of way. Yes,
It's also a pain in the ass, but it's fun. There you go.
it is, and there's a lot of good people trying to do it, and we want to actually make a difference. So we appreciate you as usual, Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Dwayne. All right, on our next show, join us for more topic on
RDAs, what they're doing with some of these subsidized housing, and we may throw in another show before that, but we're going to talk about it because I want to talk about in a big way. Well, specifically what's going on with the SAVE Act.
Okay. Let's do that on our next show then. We'll do all three.
Yeah.
We'll do the elections, the SAVE Act, and then the financing.
Do you think that you and I can actually talk about three subjects, because we get on one and we can talk forever about it?
Yes, we can do it.
Okay. I want to talk about the SAVE Act, and particularly because it's come to the forefront again because of the primary elections and what's gone on there. And we need to bring that to the floor. But I tell you just a little hint of I really believe what's going to happen is before the general elections, I think Trump is going to come out with an executive order that it's a matter of national security. So he's going to make an executive order that our elections need to be paper ballots day of. And the Supreme Court cannot override an executive order when it's a matter of national interest and security. So I think that's what's going to actually happen. I hope it is, because I don't believe the SAVE Act is going to get passed. We have our Republican senators not even for it. How are you going to get 60%?
So when do you think he will pass this? Would it
It's
be
gotta-
right before?
It's going to have
or
to be in enough time for them to print
the
the
ballots?
paper
Okay.
ballots.
But not enough time for them to do all their lawsuits or whatever.
Right, but even lawsuits shouldn't change an executive order like this. When
It can't pause it. It can't.
no, if it's under the guise or actual, not even guise. I mean, under the executive order as a national interest matter. And so I think, I don't know, but I've just been thinking about it, seeing what's going on, and I think that's probably, he's a smart guy, and he sees what's going on all across the country, and I think he's going to make an executive order in time for the county clerks to get the printing that they need done and the staff that they need, et cetera. So we'll see, but we'll talk more about that too. So we got our work cut out for us.
Right. Well, thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you. It's been fun.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye, Dwayne.